Okay. Hey, everybody. My name is Angela Faith Harry, and this is my friend Chandra Sherman and my friend Wendy Stuffer, and we are going to bring you some great information about our new Slim that was introduced in May of 2017. And so we have all had now a good long time to get some experiences with it and get some feedback from people, and we've seen everything from amazing experience and it's life-changing to I don't really know if this is for me and I'm not sure what to do or how to take it. So what we thought we would do is bring you some of Wendy's experience, because she's had that, and she's got a lot that she can talk to you about with regards to her experience. And then we're going to hear from Chandra, who's going to tell you a little bit with her background. She's going to tell you a little bit about what might be going on and where some of it's coming from. So without further ado, I'm going to throw it to Wendy. And thank you so much for helping us out with this.
This is awesome. I'm excited. So I wanted to come and, it's just being authentic of some experiences that I've had. I've been with Plexus for 3.5 years, and I absolutely love the products. I love the products. I love the company. I love everything about it, the people, and the support that we have from each other. And just, it's an amazing place to be. So that being said, 3.5 years ago, I started because I had some blood sugar issues, and I really thought that's all it was, blood sugar issues. I was, in my opinion, healthy all other areas of my life. Well, what I found was that I wasn't so healthy. And being on our triplex, which is that Plexus Slim, the ProBio 5, and the BioCleanse, I had major life changes in my health with great energy, craving control. I was no longer addicted to the sugars that I'd been addicted to in my entire life. My blood sugars came down. They were balanced. So everything was going really, really well. And then 3.5 years go by of my feeling amazing, and the company comes out with an even better version of Slim. We were all so excited. And so what did I do? I jumped right in, just like I did before. So I want to share something that happened for me 3.5 years ago. I'm a rather impatient person and very just impulsive. And when I got all my products, I read the packaging and I started them all just like that. It said, drink 1 Slim a day, take 2 ProBio 5 a night, and take 4 BioCleanse, and you can split them up during the day. And that's what I did. And I had no negative or die-off. We call it die-off. I had no die-off. I didn't have any headaches. I didn't have any skin rashes or upset stomach. I had nothing. I just went right into my life feeling beautifully. So then I jumped into the brand new Slim and thought it was going to do the exact same thing, that I would just continue to feel amazing. And then 2 weeks later, went to convention where they unveiled Vital Biome, which is an amazing probiotic, and X Factor Plus, which was a new multivitamin. And what did I do in my normal way of doing things? I jumped on all of it. And I read the package and I took it like it said. Things were going okay, but I started having some really negative experiences. I had never experienced die-off, so I didn't know what that looked like. And all of a sudden, I was experiencing things that were not comfortable. And just to be honest, I was very tired. Where before I was not tired. Now I wanted to take not only 1 nap, but 2 naps a day. I didn't want to get out of bed. I wasn't falling asleep easily. Starting to have some cravings again. But the worst thing for me is that I was tired, and I also started getting really angry. Not like me at all. I would wake up just irritable, and I couldn't understand why my sadness and my irritation and my anxiety, why all that stuff was coming back when this stuff was supposed to be making life great. So I realized, I probably started it way too fast. And so I stopped the 2 supplement products, the 2 capsules, and stayed with just the brand new pink drink. And it just didn't go away. So rather than finding out about die-off and is that what was happening to me, I decided to stop. And so I chickened out and I left the new Slim and I went back to the original because I said, well, if it's not broke, why fix it? And I went back to the original, and sure enough, my body calmed down and I started feeling amazing again. So then I started searching. I started searching Facebook groups and asking friends, who else is feeling this way? Because I know I can't be alone. Is it just me? And sure enough, there were other people. There were a lot of people going, I love this stuff. It's helped me with so many areas that the other Slim wasn't, the original Slim was not. But then there was this handful of people that were putting their hand up going, me, I'm right with you. What are we going to do? And so this fear began of, oh my gosh, it's not working for me. And what am I going to do? And the woe is me. And the fears took over. But I knew in my heart that couldn't be the truth, that Plexus gives us the best of the best products. And so I've had the opportunity to work, talking with some people who are more knowledgeable in die-off and natural healing and kind of working through things. And Chandra is one of them. And so I'm really encouraged that I am now going to restart, because what I experienced on the new Slim truly was my body was trying to rebalance. And so for someone who didn't know what die-off was and go through it, I chickened out pretty quickly. And so I don't want to go through it badly. I don't want to push through it, because that's not the best way for me either. So what we're going to do is we want to talk about how I plan on restarting, and then I'll be able to share that journey with you guys, so that you might want to restart also if you were one of those who decided to quit the new Slim and you didn't think it was working, when actually we want to cheer for you if you experienced any of those negative things. It means that something really was changing, and clearly I need change in my gut. And so I'm excited to start it. I'm just going to do it the right way. Yeah. So Chandra, would you like to explain for us probably, what we think might have happened?
So we have
it's not only what might have happened, but for anybody who's kind of watching going, maybe I'll just not do it because I don't want to go through any of that. You and I know, Wendy knows why you want to go ahead and take that step and move forward.
Yes.
So I have a theory, and I want to give full credit. Amber Young definitely had a hand in coming up with this. It was sort of her brainchild, because we couldn't sort of wrap our brain around why the majority of people who try the new Slim, who never tried the original one, do just fine, as Wendy said. But the small group of people that are having difficulty with the new Slim were ones who were already happy on the old Slim. So why is that? Because it should be a prevailing theory that after 3.5 years, you've done the work. You took the old Slim, you went all the way up to 4 Probio 5, you did the die-off, the dysbiosis should be under control. So why can't you just switch over to all the new products and be fine? So sort of the theory is, and I have some really fancy graphics, you ready? So this is your gut. And by gut, I don't just mean belly. I mean, our digestive system. So for a veteran triplex user, we can assume that you do not have dysbiosis anymore. You've done the work. So you now have only 20% candida and fungus and sad guys, and 80% of the good guys that we want, right? Whereas a new triplex user is going to start the other way. They're going to have 20% of the good guys and much more of the bad guys. And so the theory is that without us knowing it and without it being intentional, these guys start off with the XOS and Slim extremely slowly. Because when your gut looks like this, there's almost no room for the XOS to go in and do its job. So a tiny bit gets in and the rest you just pass through, because that's how prebiotic fiber works. We can't digest it. And slowly, as this becomes smaller, you're slowly making more room for XOS. So over who knows how long, maybe the first even 3 months, as I'm slowly healing my gut, I'm slowly, very slowly allowing more XOS in to start doing its job. Whereas people like Wendy, who were living like this and drank that whole Slim drink, she got the whole batch of XOS right away, and it started to go to work.
And before you get through the rest of yours, for those who don't know Chandra, just, I know that her graphics and her that she showed you already probably indicate her level of professionalism. But you need to know, what you don't know about Chandra is that she actually has all kinds of certifications and experience and works in this field with people and has a lot of experience to share with you. So it's really the main reason you want to really listen and take notes from Chandra about not only the theories, because of course there's some parts of this that we can't proclaim to know exactly what's happening, but take it from those of us who really have invested in trying to figure it out, and people like Chandra who have the background that she does. I just wanted to say that real quick, even though your graphics were convincing.
Why, but I hope that gives, because I know how frustrating it can be, I mean, for all of you guys who have been, loving this for so long and we're so excited about the new Slim, and to feel like it didn't work, I'm sure it was extremely frustrating. So I hope this gives people maybe just a little bit of solace in knowing, okay, that is one way that could make sense as to why this is happening. And then it also helps you understand why, if you introduce it in a different way, really slowly, like Wendy's going to explain, that you can be successful on the new Slim.
All right. So then let me share what my plan is and how I'm going to do this. So I know I have animals, and I know that if I ever switch their food, you go slowly. You don't just take away the old food and put in the new, because you're going to cause some belly problems for those animals. And so they say, keep feeding them their original food and add a little bit of the new, and it slowly is going to replace. So that's what I'm going to do. So the new Slim, there's 1 teaspoon of powder in each of those packets. So what I'm doing is I'm going to measure out 1/4 teaspoon, and I'm going to use 1/4 teaspoon of the new Slim, and I'm going to drink that with, a couple of ounces, 3-4 ounces of water. I'm going to drink that, and I'm also going to do half a packet of my original Slim. So I'm still not even taking a whole packet of Slim. I'm doing 1/4 of the brand new one and half of the old. And I'm going to do that probably for a week. And then I'm going to increase to half a packet or 1/2 teaspoon of the new, and I'm going to decrease my original to 1/4 packet. So I'm basically just going to replace one with the other gradually. I'm not going to add anything else. I'm not going to add the new X Factor Plus. I'm not going to add the Vital Biome. I'm literally just going to work on letting my body readjust gradually so that it's comfortable. Some people have a much stronger, ability to handle discomfort. Me, not so much when it comes to how I feel. And people need to still be able to function during the day. So if you find that a particular product is making you tired or completely depressed, angry, grumpy, whatever, you just need to back off a little bit and do it gradually. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do, like I said, I'm just adding a little bit of the new while continuing my original, and then I'm just going to let them replace them, themselves gradually. And it might take me a month. If I were asked, how do I know when it's time to move up? I'm going to do 1 week on 1/4 packet. And if I'm not tired, like today I did that and I feel great. I don't feel like I want to go take a nap. If in 3 or 4 days from now I start experiencing some exhaustion, I'm not going to increase it. I'm going to wait until I've reached the days where I'm feeling good again, and then I'll add a little bit more, because my intention is to get through this in a way that I can get to the end and go, that was easy.
And while you're doing this, you also want to keep in mind all those detox strategies that we talk about all the time, because the real core of why you feel kind of yucky is because your liver is just being asked to do too much. And so the more we can help, taking that water and doing dry brushing and all those things that we recommend, if you can do that before you start to feel icky, hopefully you won't feel icky and you'll get through it.
Right. So Chandra, how are you going to do it differently for brand new people who did not experience the original Slim?
Right. So I actually started right around convention time. So I started when the new Slim came out. And so when it came out and I was learning about XOS and how powerful it was, it sort of made sense to me intuitively to go very, very slowly. And I'm always of the mind to do one thing at a time. I think that comes from working with kids. If you take 4 things at once and you feel really great, you don't know which one did it. And vice versa. If you take 4 things and feel crappy, you don't know which one did it. So what I do is people that order, so let's say people that order the Triplex and X Factor and Vital Biome, I have them start very slowly. I have them start on a 1/4 dose for the first couple days, and then I check in. And if they're feeling good, then a 1/2 dose. And if they're feeling good, then a whole dose. And sometimes that can take 2 weeks. Like, I'm super patient with this because I would rather have people go really slowly and feel good and build belief in what they're doing than have to sort of convince them that feeling yucky is okay. And then I have them start with the BioCleanse. And again, I go very slowly with BioCleanse. I will work with someone as long as it takes to find that perfect remedy so that they have the perfect poop before we do any ProBio 5. And sometimes that's fast and sometimes it's slow. And then I start with ProBio 5 very slowly and increase ProBio 5. And for me, I don't usually recommend people start Vital Biome until they've done 4 ProBio 5 for about a month. I think that's really the most successful way to do it. And the analogy I use is if you walk by a really overgrown garden full of weeds, you throw a really expensive handful of seeds on that garden, they're not going to grow. You know what I mean? You really need to weed, seed, and feed that garden first before you throw the expensive stuff, before you throw the vital biome in. And, you know, in the beginning too, I sort of underestimated X Factor. I just thought it was, or X Factor Plus, I just thought it was a multivitamin. So I was just saying, just take that 2 a day and then we'll go slow with everything else. And I learned that for some people, that's pretty powerful too. And I find for myself, if I miss a day, I feel it. And so I have people go very slowly with that too, and have them introduce that, you know, one at a time to make sure they're tolerating it. And if we need to tweak anything, that we can.
Okay, I want to thank you for that. I think, and I agree with the vital biome, and that's exactly the way that I feel about it as well. And I love the analogy. Let's just talk about the things that I know people are wondering, which is timeline. So if we, you know, that is one of the first things, especially when we have newer people who haven't been doing this for a really long time. And while you're new to Plexus, Chandra, you're not new to the healing concept in this process. So let's talk a little bit about timeline. And then the one thing I want to throw in before you do that is you've got an experience like Wendy, who was doing great on the original triplex and actually our other products as well, and then didn't love the new one. Then you've got someone like Chandra who didn't even start Plexus until it was the new one. And so I want to throw in the other component to this, because I know this is what some people have experienced, is that they made that switch and they pushed through, but they didn't push through anything super terrible, and they're fine. Or who started off on the new one and they're fine. And so I kind of want to get your thoughts on that. My husband was one of them who made the switch from the old to the new, and we both did feel a little tired and a little cranky, but it didn't last a very long time. And it just kind of, you know, played itself out and it was over, and then he dropped 12 pounds. So we do have those stories, and I want to hear your take on that, and then timeline, if you have a minute to just jump into that before we wrap up.
I mean, you know, essentially, you know, the liver is so important when it comes to detox. And I don't want to underplay the gallbladder and the kidneys. They're in there as well. But to sort of just simplify it, the liver is so, so important. And in broad terms, when we're healing our body and we feel bad, or we have a healing crisis, as some people call it, the impetus of that is because our liver we're asking too much of it and we're not supporting it enough. We're asking it to run faster than it can. And I think that, you know, over the years, I've learned that people detox differently. People's livers function differently. And it can be, you know, from the extremes of those people like Wendy, who can take, because I've had a couple of clients as well that ignored your advice, and they have the right to do that. And they'll call me and say, I took 2 Slim and 4 BioCleanse and 4 Pro 5 today, and I'm fine. Okay. You know what I mean? There are some people whose livers are just Porsches and they just work, and that's fine. And then there are people on the complete other side of the spectrum, like myself and my children, who have MTHFR. And, you know, I could get into that, but essentially that means that my liver detoxes at about 20% of the functionality of, say, that person with a Porsche. So I have a lot of extra work to do. And I think anytime you have people like that, there's also a continuum of all the people in between of, you know, how well their endocrine systems work. And then you get into other things like people who only have 1 kidney, or people who have had their gallbladder out. And so they have differences in their endocrine system. And so I think a lot of that can partially account for why some people, their liver's a Porsche, and some are, you know, a beat up jalopy. But I think, and that's again another reason why you just have to take each person as it comes.
And so is that the conversation that you have with people in getting their buy-in to stick with it? Because I know, and you know, that when somebody doesn't come from this confident background, they kind of go, I don't know how to tell people that, right?
Yeah, I think that you can, for the most part, if you go really slowly, and you have the posture that we're going to go slowly. You know what I mean? If somebody comes to me and says, I'm only going to do this for a month, I tell them to come back when they're ready to do it longer, because that's not going to work. So I think setting people up for the idea that it's going to take a long time, that helps with their expectations. And I check in an obnoxious amount in the first month. I really do. And I ask very specific questions. And I let people know where we're going. You know, like, I'm not going to let you start ProBio 5 until you're pooping well 2 or 3 times a day for 5 days in a row. You know what I mean? So if people know where they're going and they're on the team as far as, you know, what's happening, then people won't sort of fall into detox as badly. And if they do, then they sort of trust, you catch it quickly. First of all, it's not like someone feels terrible for 3 months. That's much harder. If your liver's been congested for 3 months, it's going to take a lot longer to get back. And it's going to take a lot more buy-in to convince that person to stick with you.
Absolutely.
Right? You catch it in 2 days.
This could be an entire
I could
separate
talk all
training
day about
video,
this.
right?
Absolutely.
But I want to ask you,
Mhm.
because this has been something huge, and I just want to make sure we mention this. When it comes to following up with your new people,
Mhm.
we've kind of, I've talked with a few other people, and we came up with the idea that just saying, how you doing? So what's up? How you doing? How you feeling? Is really more of a greeting, right? Wouldn't you agree? It's if I walk past you in the store and we're acquaintances, I say, hey, how you doing? They might give me I'm fine, and walk on by, when really they're not fine. So if we message someone and we just say, how are you doing? How are you feeling? We're really not going to get a response. And again, I want people to know that what we have here, these supplements, they are not like you go to GNC, pick something up, and see you, thank you, I've paid, and I'm never going to see you again. We need to be involved, and people need to understand that we are going to bug you. We are going to follow up with you. So I'm just curious.
Out of love.
Yes, out of love, that I'm going to become your worst nightmare follow-up. But I'm wondering if you have, like, what would be an example of one of your specific questions?
I was going to say that too, because I knew we opened the levy when you mentioned that you're specific with your questions, because people want to know, what do you ask? And I'll tell you why they want to know that is because they tend to operate out of a place of fear. And I want to say this because I do what Chandra does, and I'm 4 years in. I set you up that it's going to take a long time. And I'd rather take a long time. And if you're in a hurry, come back to me when you're ready. And my team knows I do that, and I stand by it because it is what works.
Yes.
But with regards to checking in, and Wendy was one of my early people, and she did not want me to check in with her, and I did so anyway. And I was brand new, but I did the best I could because I knew I needed to check in with her. But a lot of times people operate out of fear. So I want to say this. It's not that I didn't feel fear, it's that I asked the questions anyway. Because you're fearful that somebody's going to say, I hate this, I don't like it, nothing's happening, bad things are happening, and you automatically think, and they're going to hate me, right? That is, you're operating out of fear, but I'm here to tell you, I gave myself goosebumps because this is the thing. If you overcome that, you help so many people. So I am ready with my pen to hear Chandra's questions that she asked.
Yeah, just a couple of them, because like I said, we could do an entire training on this.
Sure.
And I think we should.
Yeah.
But it's current, yeah.
There's two things. And so it's funny because in the beginning, I was definitely that way. In the beginning, I had few enough clients where I could just use my Facebook Messenger. Like I used to go to the whole bottom and see like who I had talked to recently. And there were definitely a couple of people who I was terrified to follow up with because I thought they were going to have a problem that I wouldn't know how to solve. Or they were so negative that I didn't want to like engage in that negativity. So one of the things that I do is I set a time frame for myself, and I think it helps keep me accountable. And I think it also quickly builds trust with the person you're talking to. So if I say, okay, you're feeling great on Probiotic 5, 2 at night. I want you to take 3 at night for 5 days. I'm going to check in on you on day 6. And then if I do that, then I'm building trust every time because I'm telling them something I'm going to do and I'm doing it. And it also, rather than just sort of on follow-up, Friday looking through and saying, oh, who should I follow up with? I've said that. So I write in my calendar book, Susie, 6 days from now, and then I do it. So that's one way. The other thing is knowing if you don't know why the person's using the product, it's much more difficult to follow up with them and see how they're reacting to it. And so I ask a ton of questions. And every once in a while I get a person that's like, I don't want to answer those questions, just give me the product. And I do, and then follow-up's a little bit more difficult with those people. But if given the opportunity, I ask tons and tons of questions. And it's hard to follow a script because you want it to be a conversation. You don't want to just like, so how are you pooping? How are you sleeping? You want it to be a conversation in regard to what they're saying. But a lot of times I've seen them complaining on Facebook, so I have a little bit of idea what's going on anyway. So I kind of know what questions to ask. And, so you just let the conversation flow. And I ask the common questions, like, how is your mood? How, and if they say fine, then I'll elaborate and say, do you get hangry after meals? Do you get irritated at night? What's your best time of day? When are you happiest and most likely to play with your kids? Those kind of things. And I take down all that information in a notebook. And then when I go to follow up with them, and I say, how is your energy? Are you still napping in the afternoon? And it's much more difficult for them to ignore that question than it is to ignore how you doing. I'm fine. But if you ask them how they're sleeping or if they're napping or how they're pooping, then they're, more likely to answer directly.
Perfect. And I know from me, the way that I trained my team kind of, because I don't know how to do scripts, and I do ask a lot of questions, and I have many, many, many notebooks full of my conversations with people and stuff that I wrote down where they were talking. And the way that I trained was just by getting people who were my level 1 on the phone while we talked to their person and just kind of showing them how we walked through those questions. But I think for somebody who doesn't have that, this video serves to really be that bridge that they may be needing for how do I do this. So I want to thank you both. Is there anything else that you feel like we need to say to our teams just to make sure they're prepared?
I just have one piece of advice as far as questions. You know, if that doesn't come naturally to you, make yourself a list. Like, it doesn't have to be a script, but just make a list. Ask about mood, ask about, and write down some questions. You know, not every question in that mood category will make sense for Susie, but one of them might, and then it might trigger something else. So just making that list of categories. How are they pooping? How are they eating? How are they sleeping? When you're in the conversation, especially if you're on the phone, you know, so it's kind of flowing, you have that to remember, oh, I haven't asked about that. What medications do you take? If you have that, sometimes it can help.
Absolutely excellent. Thank you so much for this. I truly believe that this is going to help people approach people better, get back on the products if they were thinking it wasn't working for them. And I just really appreciate all of your input and insight. So thank you both so much.
Yeah.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.